Chapter 5 Morphology of Flowering Plants. The wide range in the structure of higher plants will never fail to fascinate us. Even though the angiosperms show such a large diversity in external structure or morphology, they are all characterized by the presence of roots, stems, leaves, flowers, and fruits. In chapters 2 and 3, we talked about classification of plants based on morphological and other characteristics. For any successful attempt at classification and at understanding any higher plant, or for that matter, any living organism, we need to know standard technical terms and standard definitions. We also need to know about the possible variations in different parts found as adaptations of the plants to their environment, example adaptations to the various habitats for protection, climbing, storage, etc. If you pull out any weed, you will see that all of them have roots, stems, and leaves. They may be bearing flowers and fruits. The underground part of the flowering plant is the root system, while the portion above the ground forms the shoot system. 5.1 The root. In majority of the dicotyledonous plants, the direct elongation of the radicle leads to the formation of primary root which grows inside the soil. It bears lateral roots of several orders that are referred to as secondary, tertiary, etc. roots. The primary roots and its branches constitute the taproot system, as seen in the mustard plant. In monocotyledonous plants, the primary root is short-lived and is replaced by a large number of roots. These roots originate from the base of stem and constitute the fibrous root system, as seen in the wheat plant. In some plants, like grass, monstera, and the banyan tree, roots arise from the parts of plant other than radicle and are called as adventitious roots. The main functions of the root system are absorption of water and minerals from the soil, providing a proper anchorage to the plant parts, storing reserve food material, and synthesis of plant growth regulators. 5.1.1 Regions of the root. The root is covered at the apex by a thimble-like structure called as root cap. It protects the tender apex of the root as it makes its way through the soil. A few millimeters above the root cap is the region of meristematic activity. The cells of this region are very small, thin-walled, and with dense protoplasm. They divide repeatedly. The cells proximal to this region undergo rapid elongation and enlargement and are responsible for the growth of the root in length. This region is called as the region of elongation. The cells of the elongation zone gradually differentiate and mature. Hence, this zone proximal to the region of elongation is called as region of maturation. From this region, some of the epidermal cells form very fine and delicate thread-like structures called as root hair. The root hair absorb water and minerals from the soil. 5.1.2 Modifications of root. Roots in some plants change their shape and structure and become modified to perform functions other than absorption and conduction of water and minerals. They are modified for support, storage of food, and respiration. Taproots of carrot, turnip, and adventitious roots of sweet potato get swollen and store food. Can you give some more such examples? Have you ever wondered what those hanging structures that support a banyan tree are? These are called as prop roots. Similarly, the stems of maize and sugarcane have supporting roots coming out of the lower nodes of the stem. These are called as stilt roots. In some plants, such as rhizophora, growing in swampy areas, many roots come out of the ground and grow vertically upwards. Such roots called as pneumatophores help to get oxygen for respiration. 5.2 The stem. What are the features that distinguish a stem from a root? The stem is the ascending part of the axis, bearing branches, leaves, flowers, and fruits. It develops from the plumule of the embryo of a germinating seed. The seed bears nodes and internodes. The region of the stem where leaves are born are called as nodes, while the internodes are the portions between two nodes. The stem bears buds which may be terminal or axillary. Stem is generally green when young and later often become woody and dark brown. The main function of the stem is spreading out branches bearing leaves, flowers, and fruits. It conducts water, minerals, and photosynthase. Some stems perform the function of storage of food, support, protection, and of vegetative propagation. 5.2.1 Modifications of stem. The stem may not always be typically like what they are expected to be. They are modified to perform different functions. Underground stems of potato, ginger, turmeric, samin khand, colocasia are modified to store food in them. They also act as organs of perennation to tide over the conditions unfavorable for growth. Stem tendrils, which develop from the axillary buds, are slender and spirally coiled and help plants to climb, such as in gourds, example cucumber, pumpkins, and watermelon, and grape vines. Axillary buds of stem may also get modified into woody, straight, and pointed thorns. Thorns are found in many plants such as citrus, bougainvillea. They protect plants from browsing animals. Some plants of arid regions modify their stems into flattened like opentia or fleshy cylindrical in case of euphorbia structures. They contain chlorophyll and carry out photosynthesis. Underground stems of some plants, such as grass and strawberry, etc., spread to new niches, and when older plants die, new plants are formed. In plants like mint and jasmine, a slender lateral branch arises from the base of the main axis and, after growing aerially for some time, arc downwards to touch the ground. A lateral branch with short internodes and each node bearing a rosette of leaves and a tuft of roots is found in aquatic plants like Pistia and Iconia. In banana, pineapple, and chrysanthemum, the lateral branches originate from the basal and underground portion of the main stem, grow horizontally beneath the soil, and then come out obliquely upward, giving rise to leafy shoots. 5.3 The leaf. The leaf is lateral, generally flattened structure borne on the stem. It develops at the node and bears a bud in its axis. The axillary bud later develops into a branch. Leaves originate from shoot apical meristems and are arranged in an acropetal order. They are the most important vegetative organs for photosynthesis. A typical leaf consists of three main parts, that is, leaf base, petiole, and lamina. The leaf is attached to the stem by the leaf base and may bear two lateral small leaf-like structures called as stipules. In monocotyledons, the leaf base expands into a sheath covering the stem partially or wholly. In some leguminous plants, the leaf base may become swollen, which is called as the pulvinus. The petiole help hold the blade to light. Long, thin, flexible petioles along leaf blades to flutter in wind, thereby cooling the leaf and bringing fresh air to the leaf surface. The lamina or the leaf blade is the green expanded part of the leaf with the veins and veinlets. There is usually a middle prominent vein which is known as the midrib. Veins provide rigidity to the leaf blade and act as channels of transport for water minerals and food materials. The shape, margin, apex, surface, and extent of incision of lamina varies in different leaves. 5.3.1 Venation. The arrangement of veins and veinlets in the lamina of leaf is termed as venation. When the veinlets form a network, the venation is termed as reticulate. When the veins run parallel to each other within a lamina, the venation is termed as parallel. Leaves of dicotyledonous plants generally possesses reticulate venation, while parallel venation is the characteristic of most monocotyledons. 5.3.2 Types of leaves. A leaf is said to be simple when its lamina is entire or when incised, the incisions do not touch the midrib. When the incisions of the lamina reach up to the midrib, breaking it into a number of leaflets, the leaf is called as compound. A bud is present in the axil of petiole in both simple and compound leaves, but not in the axil of leaflets of the compound leaf. The compound leaves may be of two types. In a pinnately compound leaf, the number of leaflets are present on a common axis, the rachis, which represents the midrib of the leaf as in mean. In palmately compound leaves, the leaflets are attached at a common point, that is, at the tip of petiole as in silk cotton. 5.3.3 Phyllotaxy. Phyllotaxy is the pattern of arrangement of leaves on the stem or branch. This is usually of three types: alternate, opposite, and whorled. In alternate type of phyllotaxy, a single leaf arises at each node in alternate manner as in China rose, mustard, and sunflower plants. In opposite type, a pair of leaves arise at each node and lie opposite to each other as in Calotropis and guava plants. If more than two leaves arise at a node and form a whorl, it is called as whorled as in Alstonia. 5.3.4 Modifications of leaves. Leaves are often modified to perform functions other than photosynthesis. They are converted into tendrils for climbing as in peas or in spines for defense as in cacti. The fleshy leaves of onion and garlic store food. In some plants, such as Australian acacia, the leaves are small and short-lived. The petioles in these plants expand, become green, and synthesize food. Leaves of certain insectivorous plants, such as pitcher plant, Venus flytrap, are also modified leaves. 5.4 The inflorescence. A flower is a modified shoot wherein the shoot apical meristem changes to floral meristem. Internodes do not elongate and the axis gets condensed. The apex produces different kinds of floral appendages laterally at the successive nodes instead of leaves. When a shoot tip transforms into a flower, it is always solitary. The arrangement of flowers on the floral axis is termed as inflorescence. Depending on whether the apex gets developed into a flower or continues to grow, two major types of inflorescences are defined, like racemose and cymose. In racemose type of inflorescences, the main axis continues to grow. The flowers are borne laterally in an acropetal succession. In cymose type of inflorescence, the main axis terminates into a flower, hence is limited in growth. The flowers are borne in basipetal manner. 5.5 The flower. The flower is the reproductive unit in angiosperms. It is meant for sexual reproduction. A typical flower has four different kinds of whorls arranged successively on the swollen end of the stalk or pedicel, called as thalamus or receptacle. These are calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. Calyx and corolla are accessory organs, while androecium and gynoecium are reproductive organs. In some flowers, like lily, the calyx and corolla are not distinct and are termed as perianth. When a flower has both androecium and gynoecium, it is bisexual. A flower having either only stamens or only carpels is unisexual. In symmetry, the flower may be actinomorphic, that is radial symmetry, or zygomorphic, that is bilateral symmetry. When a flower can be divided into two equal radial halves in any radial plane passing through the center, it is said to be actinomorphic. Example mustard, datura, and chili. When it can be divided into two similar halves only in one particular vertical plane, it is zygomorphic. Example pea, gulmohar, bean, and cassia. A flower is asymmetric, that is irregular, if it cannot be divided into two similar halves by any vertical plane passing through the center, as in canna. A flower may be trimerous, tetramerous, or pentamerous when the floral appendages are in multiple of 3, 4, or 5 respectively. Flowers with bracts, reduced leaf, found at the base of the pedicel are called as bracteate, and those without the bracts are called as ebracteates. Based on the position of calyx, corolla, and androecium in respect of the ovary on thalamus, the flowers are described as hypogynous, perigynous, and epigynous. In the hypogynous flower, the gynoecium occupies the highest position while the other parts are situated below it. The ovary in such flowers is said to be superior, example mustard, china rose, and brinjal. If gynoecium is situated in the center and other parts of the flower are located on the rim of the thalamus, almost at the same level, it is called as perigynous. The ovary here is said to be half inferior, example plum, rose, peach. In epigynous flower, the margin of thalamus grows upward, enclosing the ovary completely and getting fused with it. The other parts of the flower arise above the ovary. Hence, the ovary is said to be inferior, as in flowers of guava and cucumber and the ray florets of sunflower.